Hello, good evening, welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Foxchair, on the show tonight is a man who's not changed a bit since the mid-80s, Dave MacKinnon. Evening, Dave.
Evening, Ox, how are we?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
That's very kind of you.
Well, let's just say your hair's nearly enough the same colour as it was back then, mate, yeah?
Well, I tell you, it's still relatively long because I've had to grow it after my accident, so it feels like I've turned the clock back.
What are you going for? Hawaiian sunset? Are we going for that?
Sorry?
The colour Hawaiian sunset, will we go with that?
Aye, something like that. It used to be strawberry blonde. Call it Hawaiian sunset. Fantastic.
Right, obviously, you've got a tremendous football story to tell, mate. Yeah? A young boy growing up in Glasgow, yeah? How did it start for you, mate? How did the love of the game start?
Well, my father was a great Rangers supporter, and he used to take me to Ibrox every time they were there. And actually, it was in the old terracing opposite the tunnel, and it was a great experience for me. And you know, players like John Gregg, you know, Colin Steen, Willie Johnson. But my favourite player was Andy Penman. I used to love Andy.
All right. Okay.
Thought he was tremendous.
Aye. So then you started playing yourself, yeah? Yeah, like the rest
Yeah,
of
well,
school.
I did. I was actually, I was born in Glasgow, brought up in Bridgeton, believe it or not, which was interesting. It was those of you that of a certain vintage will realise that there's a lot of poverty around, you know, and I was actually brought up in a one-room and kitchen, so with an outside toilet. It was off street. Bridgeton, Singleton, that was it. And then my dad got a transfer. He was a boiler maker, and he went to work for Babcock's in Renfrew, and got into the BB, the Life Boys school team, and then I played for a team called Glasgow United, and they were a great team, and we used to maybe have 20, 30 scouts at every game, and basically I was picked up and asked to go down and trial, so I went down and trial to teams like Ipswich, Arsenal, Chelsea, Sheffield United, and eventually I plumped for Arsenal and signed for Arsenal and first as an apprentice, and then became a professional there, and I was there for 4 years.
Was there no interest in Scotland? Was there any interest down south?
The only team that was interested in me was St Johnstone, believe it or not, and I went up and played a trial there when I was 15 against the first team, and I did relatively well, and they wanted to sign me. Willie Ormond was the manager, but sadly there was no Rangers, you know, about at that time. They didn't show an interest, so I went to Arsenal, was there for 4 years, and you know, it was a great education for me because there was a lot of really good players at that time, and you know, I decided strangely after 4 years I had a contract, and I told the manager that I wanted to leave, and you know, he basically said to me, "You're making the biggest mistake of your life, son." But I did leave, and because I'd gone in loan to Dundee. Right. And then I was transferred to Dundee, and it was a different world. But I immediately went up there and got an injury and didn't play for a long time. So, you know, when you look back, and it was
that was some of the players. I looked at the photograph today, and obviously your hair's even longer now than it was in the 70s. But I seen you on next day, a famous Irish player in the photograph. He was near bad.
Yeah, well, the players that I played with, they did a great youth setup, and what they were doing was they just won the double, and they were trying to change the team, you know, to bring youth in, and the youth team and the reserves that I was in was guys like Liam Brady, Frank Stapleton, Graham Ricks, David Price, Wilf Rostron, you know, players like that, really, really good players, John Matthews, and basically how it happened for me, I was told one Monday by the manager, myself and Frank Stapleton, that we'd both be making our debut against Stoke on the Saturday. But unfortunately, I broke my toe on the Wednesday. And it was a difficult time for me because, I was out for 8 weeks, and basically it was a bit traumatic. But I go over it and, put me in fine stead for later on in my career, because unfortunately I seemed to get injuries at the wrong time. And that was sort of quite a regular occurrence for me.
How did the boy from Brighton cope with the bright lights of London?
It was quite eye opening. I mean, because I think there was no kind of mollycoddling. You really just had to go in with it, and there was very little support, to be honest. And I remember arriving there, getting a map of where my digs were in Bounds Green, which is North London, and basically dragging a case. There was no wheels in those days. To my digs, and that was it. Got on with it, and then, as I say, I get injured, and it was pretty difficult for me because the players I was playing with were making their debuts, and as I say, it was difficult for me because I had so many injuries. But I actually made the decision that I was going to leave, and I was actually had a great education there. Two guys that looked after me, Alan Ball, which I don't, and Pat Rice, right back, because I flitted between right back and centre midfield, and the two of them really took me under wing, and I learned a lot about the game, how to defend first and foremost, and George Best was my kind of hero and the person that I really adored as a player. And when Man United came to town, I remember speaking to him quite a few times, and he was a great Rangers supporter, which had a few things in common. And Pat Rice, who was his teammate in the Northern Ireland team, said to me one day, "Who's your favourite player?" And I said, "Georgie Best." And he said, "Right, I'll show you how to play against him." Took me onto the Highbury pitch and showed me how to defend against somebody like George Best, and actually played against him and held my own. So it was a great education. Defenders defended first and foremost, and then attacked. Seems to be now that you attack, defend.
It causes great debate on here. What's your thoughts on it? If a right back scored 107 goals but gave the odd goal away, is he in the plus or the minus?
Well, he's in the plus very much so, because if you'd been told that it was going to do it when you signed them, then everyone would jump at it. And I think the thing is, like, I look at the team. I went to see them live. I don't see them live very often, but I saw them against Celtic, and I could see exactly what the situation was. I would like to see Rangers go to 3 at the back, 5 in midfield, Tavernier wide in the right, and I think you'd see a completely different team, because I think when he's going forward, there's a big gap, and Goldson tends to stay in the middle. If he was pushed over 1, 8 at the back, and Tavernier, really just concentrating and going forward, I think it would really work for Rangers.
All right, interesting. To be fair, you're only 105 goals behind them, yeah?
Well, it's I don't know what his appearances are. I managed to make 177 appearances, so I was quite pleased with that. Obviously, if someone had told me at the start of my career I would make 177 games for Rangers in the first team, I would have been absolutely delighted. So it was a great experience.
We'll come to that, but
yeah.
You gave up your career. Well, I started a fledgling career at Arsenal, moved to Dundee, which again couldn't be any more different for the bright lights of London. Went to Dundee. They had a reasonable side then, with some obviously Tommy Gemmell was a manager.
It was Davy White actually, and then Tommy Gemmell. I was actually, strangely, and apart from me, I get injured. I was supposed to make my debut against Celtic at Dens Park, and manager asked me to play in a reserve game as a kind of warm-up. He says, I'll give you, 45 minutes, and I get injured and I was out for 14 months. So signing for Dundee caused a bit of problem for me. I had an ankle injury which required 2 operations. So it wasn't the best start for me, but by that time when I came back to full fitness, Tommy Gemmell was the manager. And he really looked after me. Tommy was a really good guy.
He just happened to sign for the Rhine football team, but that's another story.
Well, he always told me he was a Rangers supporter.
Aye, it's well known, isn't it? Well known. So Dundee, then you joined the Jags.
Yeah, I was. I was there. I played for Dundee. They wanted a wee bit of a change. Gordon Strachan played. Gordon was transferred to Aberdeen, and I was transferred to Partick Thistle because I think they just wanted to change the whole format of things, and that was fine. Went to play for Bertie Auld, and that was an unbelievable experience, in the positive sense.
Football was different with Thistle full time then, or part time?
No, well, this was a strange thing. I was at Dundee full time, and basically, Partick Thistle were doing really well. There was a 4th, 5th in the league, in the Premier League, and I'd played in a game, and Bertie came to see me and basically signed me, and didn't tell me it was part time. But I tripled my wages, strangely enough, and that's why I thought it was full time. But I went there, and it was like it was a great club, because they had some amazing players playing. Myself, Brian Whittaker, Alan Ruff played there, Kenny Watson, ex-Rangers player, Bo Johnson, Colin McAdam, Dougie Sumner up front, Bobby Houston. So we had a really good team, and one of the things that we all played for each other, and with some amazing results, because the atmosphere in the dressing room was outrageous, to be perfectly honest. Some of the things that happened were just crazy, but we all played for each other, and I think that's one of the things that, if you go on with your teammates and you play for them, then it works very well. Excuse me, I'm just my headphones keep falling out. That's what the problem is.
You all right?
Yeah, fantastic.
All right. Different dressing rooms, obviously. 99.9% of the boys in it then would have been all Scottish, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. We're all Scottish, because that was it. But we all, it was actually outrageous. And Bertie Auld was the manager, and I didn't quite realise this, but Bertie was a very, very smart man, and what he did was he created an us and them, got the players together, and he was a kind of enemy. He made himself the enemy, because some of the things he used to do were just outrageous, but that bonded the players together a lot. For example, we would he'd get us out training, and there was a thing called the coffin, and what that was it was probably 12 markers round the pitch, and there would be 2 on each marker, and what you'd do is you'd run from maybe the halfway line to the corner flag, sprint, then jog the whole the rest of the park, and then you'd sprint 2, then jog the rest, and you'd end up sprinting a full lap. And what he used to do was he'd wait to basically the last time when you were sprinting the whole pitch, and then say, "Oh no, ridiculous, rough, you're not trying a leg, so back to the start again, do it again." And we were all swearing at him, but he loved that, because he would just smile. But it really was just making the team spirit a good thing,
As a character in Scottish football at the time, Bertie Auld.
He was unique, and basically the first time I played for him, I made my debut against Dundee United, and there was the team sheet put up on the Thursday, and it basically says that I was playing, and we'd to be at the ground at 10 o'clock, and it was a 3 o'clock kickoff. So I said to Big Alan Ruff, "What's happening here?" He says, "Oh, you'll see." So we came in, and all the reserves had appeared, and we ended up playing an hour's game on the pitch as a warm-up, and I thought it was just basically tactical, looking at positions and mark at a corner and things like that. But basically, I made the mistake of thinking it was that, and then Bertie was playing for the reserve team. I'm not, must have been just early 40s, and so a gap appeared. I'm playing right back. I managed to get through into midfield, played at Jim Melrose, and he slotted home, and Bertie tried to go over the top to me with studs. And he said to me, you better start tackling and all that kind of thing. And suddenly everybody started tackling. Guys were flying up into the air and all that. But that's what we wanted. They wanted to make it a match situation. But it was just crazy. And we did that. Every home game we played an hour on the Saturday morning. And it was basically blood and slaughter, to be perfectly honest, to coin it. But Bertie used to play, and as I say, he used to try and do you when you're running through. He said to me, he says, good job, you're fast, MacKinnon. He said, I'll get you the next time. And I always was aware of him trying to pick me and things like that. So that was it. And but it really, got team spirit together. And as I say, we would run through a brick wall for each other, and we had some great results. We beat Celtic on a regular basis and Rangers on a regular basis.
Right. So how did the Rangers move come about? How did it come about? You're playing well for Thistle. Thistle are getting results, as you said. They always fun it hard. The Rangers going to Firhill a lot of times then.
Yeah.
How did the Rangers move come about for you? You remember?
Well, it was a strange, absolutely. It was a strange thing for me because, as I said, you had a lot of injuries and illnesses. And when I was 24, I played for the Scottish League against Northern Ireland and did relatively well. And there was chat making in the Scotland team. But, I was playing right back at that time. And, when I looked at the right backs at that time, Sandy Jardine, Danny McGrain, John Brownlee, Ray Stewart, players like that. There was no chance of me getting in, but I was told that I was potentially getting a game, and I thought, this is going great. Then I started feeling a bit ill, no energy, and believe it or not, I discovered I had tuberculosis, and I had to get my right kidney removed when I was 24, and there was a lot of talk about my career being over. I was out for 6 months, but I was determined to come back. But during that time, I was still carrying a kind of legacy from leaving Arsenal, and I actually used that time to look at my game, what was right with my game, what was wrong with it, and how could I change it. So I did. I really transformed my game. I became a guy that ran from the start to the end of the game. I started tackling, started getting to the byline and crossing, shooting, everything, really just to raise the tempo of my game. And, I had allowed the game to dictate to me rather than me dictating to the game. So it worked out really well. And a year later, back into the team, I got a new manager came in. Bertie left, went to Hibs, and Peter Cormack came in and said, look, I'm trying to bring in my own players. I'll let you go if we get 30 grand for you. And I said, well, that's fair enough. So a friend of mine who's a journalist put it in the paper, and I got a phone call from Howard Kendall at Everton telling me he wanted to sign me. And they were going to be doing great things at Everton. And then I was about to go and see Everton to sign, and then Davy Provan, the assistant manager at Rangers, appeared at my door one day and said, John Gregg wants to see you up at Ibrox. I thought, absolutely magnificent. So I went up to Ibrox, and John Gregg said to me, he said, you did any other offers? I said, Everton were in touch. And he said to me, he said, Howard's a nice guy, he said, but we'll never win anything at Everton. I think that was the team that won the league in the European Cup just after that. So, but then he said to me, he says, where did you used to stand when you came here? Because he'd done his homework, and I told him, he says, right, come on out. He said, show me the trophy room. He took me out onto the the pitch, took me to the terrace, and he said, "See, when you walk out this tunnel against Celtic in European games," he said, "here's in the back of your neck stand up." He said, "What an experience it is playing for Rangers." So I'd phoned my dad, and he said, I said to him, I said, "Well, Everton have asked me to sign." I said, "And Rangers have asked me to sign." He says, "Well, Davey, let me tell you," he said, "if you don't sign for Rangers, then you and I are finished, son."
That sounds right to me. That sounds right.
But I didn't have, I mean, as soon as I walked into Ibrox, I knew that this was for me because, as I said, I'd been a supporter, grew up as a supporter, and the big thing is, playing for Rangers is just an amazing experience. And I signed, and, the first, we went very well. We'd gone 17 games unbeaten. We'd beaten Borussia Dortmund in the UEFA Cup. We'd gone to Aberdeen and beaten them 2-1 up there, and I had, Partick playing two goals. So things were going really well. And then I get injured again, so it wasn't the best time for me. So that's what happened.
Right. Even as a, you would be. You weren't a young man, but you weren't an old man. You were maybe in the prime of your career, but 26 when you signed for Rangers,
25, 26,
yeah. Was it still nerve-wracking? You're not a kid anymore. You walk in there and you're thinking, right, this was my dream.
Yep.
Was the stomach going? Was the nerves?
Well, I tell you what, I owed the late and great Davy Cooper, a lot of thanks, because what happened was, I told you that thing about Best being able to play George Best, and that was an instruction for Pat Rice: keep your eye on the ball, move his body, but the ball stays still. And when I played against Cook when I was at Partick Thistle, I always had a good game against him because I used that thought process. And basically, he said to me, "So I'm glad you've signed." I said, "Well, that's very kind of you." And I went into the dressing room. I was a bit apprehensive going into the dressing room the first day because there's a lot of big names in there. And Coop, in a kind of stage whisper, says, "Oh, thank God you've signed for us." He says, "Guys, this is Dave MacKinnon." He said he's probably my hardest opponent that I played against. He said, "So thank God he's for us." He says, "He'll run through a brick wall for us." And everybody started clapping, and I thought to myself, "That's great, Coop. Thanks a lot." And that was it. That was my introduction into the dressing room. And he realised that coming into a dressing room, a team like Rangers, you had to, get the respect of the players straight away. And I immediately went into it. We played in a tournament in France, and I did relatively well in it because it was easy for me, because the better players that you play with, the game becomes easier. And what I used to do was Don Gregg and Tommy McLean used to say to Jim Stewart, the goalkeeper, "Right, just roll the ball out to the fullbacks, myself and Ali Dawson. And when I get the ball at the back, I just looked up, and there was Davy Cooper wide coming short on the right-hand side, Bobby Russell inside him, Robert Pritz looking for the ball, Jim Bett looking for the ball. And I looked across the back, and there was like John McClelland, if Davy McPherson was playing, or Craig Patterson. They all wanted the ball, and they were comfortable in the ball. And then, if for some reason they were marked, I'd just knock into the channel for Big Derek Johnson, and he was well supported by John McDonald. So we had a great team, players that always looked for the ball and wanted the ball. And for me, coming into that team, it was like putting the clock back for me, back to Arsenal, when I played with a lot of good players. And I just thought, I think at the time they were saying this is the best Rangers team in a generation. We'd gone 17 games undefeated, and we really fancied ourselves to do very, very well. But it didn't materialise because of a certain game against FC Cologne away from home.
Yeah. We'll skip that. We won the first leg 2-1, yeah.
We did, and then
Won the first game like 2-1, but
I
mean, they had some good players, some top players. Lambaski.
I look Barsky, but it was a strange game because what happened was they were warming up and they were like Barsky was firing balls to the edge of the box and guys were volleying into the top corner. And I remember speaking to Ali Dawson and saying, we need to watch that. You need to get close to him. And they went, right, okay. And then as the game started, first 20 minutes, like Barsky hits 4 balls into the centre of the pitch. And guys are volleying it in. So we're 4-0 down after 20 minutes. And it was really it was outrageous goals that they scored. And then the game settled into where it should have been. So as a team, I think we should have basically put that to bed and said it was a one-off. Forget it. We were playing really well as a team, but we didn't even let it eat it away at us. We got a lot of stick in the papers. And I think that it was a legacy that ultimately cost us in the league. We ended up third in the league.
Do you think the expectations of the support can sometimes hinder the players, David?
No, I don't think so. I think any Rangers player should have the same expectation because I'm a great believer in aligning everything within a club. You know, the expectations of the board, the expectations of the manager and the playing staff should reflect what the fans ultimately want to do. And if you align all 3 of those things, then you actually succeed. It's when you start to have different objectives throughout the club, it starts to not work for you. And I always believed when I played that if you gave the Rangers supporters 100% commitment, they gave you the support that you required. So I think Rangers supporters and indeed supporters at any club realise when maybe people are not giving them 100%, and that's when things start to sour.
So you played with some great names, guys that were maybe further on in their career. You mentioned David Cooper, Ali Dawson, Ian Redford, John McClellan, Dave McPherson, Craig Bast, Ali McCoist. Did you know that Ali was going to go on and be the star that he became?
Well, he certainly had enough confidence. I mean, I'd gone on holiday to Spain and met John Gregg, and he told me that they were signing Ali McCoist, and I'd obviously known about him, you know, when he was at St Johnstone, and he came in and played a few games, and then there was an amazing thing. As I said, we beat Aberdeen 2-1 up at the Tawdry, and the fans were magnificent. They were taking over the whole of the beach end. It was the first time Rangers had beaten Aberdeen in the Premier League, believe it or not. And part of that thing was Davy Cooper and Bobby Russell. And I actually managed to work the magic with them, you know, the telepathic communication. But Bobby Russell and Davy Cooper had played me in to make a cross for the second goal, and I'd won a corner and things like that. So I was starting to get to know them. But I remember when we came back on the Monday, both of them said to me, look, we don't do this by accident. Come on out of the Albion. So I went out of the Albion in the afternoon with them, and I could see how they worked the ball. And they said to me, you were lucky on Saturday because you got to the right position, but here's how you work with us. And I actually worked with them to try and get a knowledge of when I could move forward to get across. And I remember thinking, well, this is a great idea. And I was very friendly with Robert Fritz, as was Ali Dawson, and he was absolutely brilliant, me Fritzy, and he went on to have a great career in Italy. I think he found it difficult, the people kicking you in Scotland, because they didn't do that in Sweden. But I said to him, I said, well, let's see if we can work something out. We were playing Celtic on the Saturday, and we agreed that if we had a free kick anywhere inside their half, I would just go on my bike and run to the byline. Fritzy would play it in, and I'd get a cross in. So I said to Ali McCoist after training, I said, McCoist, I said, see if I get to the byline, where do you want the ball? And he said to me, he says, if you play it to the corner of the 6-yard box, he said, I'll score. So I said, right, that's good. So what happened is, we're playing Celtic, 27 seconds gone. Roy Aiken clatters Sandy Clark. I start running. Fritzy plays the ball into me. I put it to 6-yard box in the corner. Hoisty scores 27 seconds, the fastest goal ever. And as we're going back, I said to him, I said, see if we'd practiced that. I said, we could actually do that every game. And he just looked at me and he was, euphoric about scoring against Celtic. And I knew then he'd a great talent for scoring goals. He knew how to score goals, and he practiced it. I mean, he practiced 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper every day, and then so he was very aware of how to place the centre forward, and I knew he had a talent, but he kept kind of getting through. He was still learning the game. He was only 21, 22, so he was going to make mistakes, which he did make a lot of mistakes, but I knew he would come and top because he had that unique talent of knowing where the goal was. So it was, absolutely brilliant, the career he had for Rangers and the amount of goals he scored. So I was delighted for him.
That team got to your first team when you made your debut. You got to 2 cup finals, yeah, and we lost both games unluckily. One against Celtic, one against Aberdeen. Yeah. From memory, I think Jim Bett scored a right good free kick to get it back 2-1, and we pounded them. And the Aberdeen side, they had a right good side, and they beat us 1-0. If I remember, unfortunately that day.
Well, we were the best team in both those games, believe it or not. We were, and as I say, we pounded Celtic, and we just couldn't get the goal back, the second goal back, and also when we played Aberdeen. We actually scored a goal, and it was disallowed. The ball played to the back post. Billy Davis, who'd come on as sub, is only a small guy. He out jumped the right back and headed into the goal, and didn't commit any foul. But the referee decided that he'd fouled the right back because, I spoke to the referee and he says, you couldn't have got that high without jumping on the fullback. I said, he never. So, that we were kind of robbed a wee bit. And then Jim Bett hit an unbelievable shot for about maybe 30 yards right in the top corner. Jim Leighton touched it around the post. So it wasn't to be. And then we gave the ball away in midfield, and they scored a goal and basically extra time. So, but again, we should have won that one.
And let's be honest, they were a top side then,
Well, they were. They're good players, and I think they had a steely determination. I think obviously Alec Ferguson. I had a few run-ins with Alec Ferguson because he felt that I was a bit hard on some of these players at times.
And his team were quiet boys. They were quiet boys.
Well, we beat them up at Pittodrie, and we were going off the park. As I say, that wonderful Rangers support at the beach end, and we were like, lapping it up, going off the park, and suddenly at the corner of my eye, I see Alec Ferguson running towards me, and I think, this doesn't look good. He's shouting and swearing at me, and John Gregg just moved in and just deflected him away. And he said, John Gregg shouting, get in the dressing room. So apparently he wasn't happy that we played against Peter Weir, the winger. But these things happen, and it's all about passion. And Alec Ferguson had passion, so and he wanted his team to win. So that's what the game's about. If you're not get passion, you can forget it. And I think the thing is, as I said to you before, the supporters see people are playing 100%, and they see people who've got passion for the club. But without that passion, they'll never succeed. So that's maybe a lesson for everybody to make sure we get back on track with that.
10% ability, 90% attitude. Would that be fair?
Well, I think the thing is, if you've got the right attitude and you've got a certain amount of skill, or you've got a certain understanding of the game, then you can sort it, and you can actually come through. I've seen so many players in my career that had incredible skill, but their attitude was not very good, and their commitment wasn't very good. So, given the game in Scotland, it's totally different from the game in England. If you've not got that energy and that commitment and passion for the game, you'll never succeed. Never succeed.
So you moved on to the next season. Were you some memorable games as well? One that sticks out that season was the Inter Milan tie at Ibrox. You came up against one of your old teammates, Liam Brady.
Yeah, Liam Brady. It was a strange.
Yeah.
It was a strange one for me because I think I played 50 games maybe that season, but I missed important games. I missed the cup final because basically Jock Wallace and I had a disagreement about how to play. It's only one winner when you're up against Jock Wallace, and then basically we were playing Milan away in the first leg, and what happened was it was Wednesday night kick-off, and then the Tuesday before we flew out, we had basically a practice match at the Albion, and I was supposed to be playing centre midfield against Liam Brady, and I'd obviously played in the same team as Liam Brady for 4 years, so I knew how he played. He played within a 12 yards square, never moved out it, and all he just did was ping balls about. So Jock said to me, right, okay, well, let's have a practice match and need the reserves against us. And wee Billy Davis was supposed to be Liam Brady, right? So Jock said to me, you need to mark wee Billy, right? So the first minute, wee Billy, who was a great wee player and very energetic all over the park, he runs from the centre of the pitch into his own penalty box to collect the ball. And I just let him go. Jock's got the whistle and he said, you're supposed to be marking him. I said, Gaffer, I said, I played with Liam for 4 years. Keane doesn't do that. He doesn't run back. He plays within this area. So, I think, for you saying to me that I should be marking Liam Brady, that's not how Liam Brady plays. I don't think you're allowed to say that against Jock. So we get to Milan and I'm not playing and Cammy Fraser's playing. So I learned a lesson there. But so he also get me at the cup final against Dundee United. So it wasn't a good start. But then I went in to see him and he said to me, you'll play every game this season. He said, I was a bit upset about you questioning me in front of the players. And I thought, I get it. I really get it. And he said, you'll be back in. So I was back in playing against Inter Milan. And I was kind of right side midfield. And, I had an interaction with Liam Brady. But to be fair, Liam said to me after the game, he gave me his shirt and he said, you never gave me a kick of the ball. And I said, well, I wish I'd been able to do that in Milan, when we get beat 3-0. But, it was a strange, surreal thing. But we outplayed them again. There was a great Rangers support there that night. And, I think it was 3-1 at half time. We should have sealed it. But we'd been told before the game that John McClellan was signing for Watford. So that was the kind of at the back of everybody's mind a wee bit, and it was certainly at the back of Big John's. He tried like mad. He was actually playing up front, but I think letting people know that this is your last game and you're going to go. You maybe don't go into the tackles that you should, but that wasn't like Big John. He was very committed and a very good player, and I think what happened there, the team started to disintegrate a wee bit. As players leaving. Jim Bett had left the previous year, back to Lochran. He was an absolute brilliant player. Wee Pritzy was out of favour. Again, he was a very, very good player. So I think at that time it was a bit transitional at the club. John Gregg had left, and I think that was a backward step, in my opinion, because John was also a legend as a player, and also he was a very, very good manager, and had a very good coach in Tommy McLean. but I don't think he got the backing of the board at that time, and there was a lot of things filtering down to the players, because if there's board stuff going on and it affects the manager, the players ultimately find it. And we'd heard that some of the directors at that time wanted John out the door, and it was the wrong thing. We weren't happy because we were all very supportive of John Greig, because he was a great manager and really knew the game inside out. So I think if he'd have got a bit more support at that time, and also maybe a bit of investment into the team, and not let players like Jim Beck go, I think we would have done a lot better than we did.
Interesting that you think. I mean, obviously, two of Rangers legends, John Greig, Jock Wallace, for different reasons, but people have said in the past that John Greig's some of his stuff as a manager was ahead of his time. Is that fair, David?
Absolutely, and one of the things he did, though, was he was meticulous with his analysis of other teams, and before he played in Europe, for example, he would go through all their players and know exactly how you had to play them. So every player that walked onto the park, John Greig knew how they had to play, knew what they had to do to make the team win. You knew what your job was. And it was a great time, as I say. But as I say, what happens at a club is, like, if the board disconnect with the manager, it does filter down to the team. And I think there was really a lot of players that played with John Greig started to get a wee bit upset, and there was a real kind of bad atmosphere at the club at that time, and it definitely did affect players on the pitch. And as I say, John, I remember where the car park is now was the Albion training ground. Those of you that will know that, and I can remember one day's training, Tommy McLean took us, and I remember saying, "Where's the gaffer?" He says, "Oh, he's got some business with the board." And I went, "All right, okay." And given what we'd been told, I thought, well, this doesn't look good. And I went back over to Ibrox when we finished training, and I saw John coming down the stairs, and he was really upset, crying. And I thought, it's terrible seeing this, wonderful man as well as a wonderful manager, having to go through that for a team that he would have walked over red hot coals for. So I think he was treated badly, and that's my opinion, being there at the time. And I hope that never happens again, because it destroys a club.
Interesting. You said you changed your game. Let's just say, from culture to being a more aggressive fullback. I mean, the people I've talked to, I've seen it. I'll put it to you this way, David. I read a post on social media when we put it up. You were coming here, and somebody described you as an unsung hero who never gave up and never stripped a tackle.
Well, I mean, that was my game. I did, because of my kidney situation. When I get my kidney out, I was told my career could be over. And I thought, no, I'm going to play each game as if it's my last, because one day you'll be right. And also, when I was at Arsenal, Alan Ball had given me a lot of advice and told me that if you run from the start of the game to the end of the game, people notice you. You win, but if you've given 100%, they'll accept that. And I always gave 100%, because I understood what it meant for the people in the terrace. They would forgive you if you made mistakes, but they wouldn't forgive you if you didn't try. So I tried every game. I had injuries at the wrong time. The following season, after that second season, was a bit of a nightmare for me, because Jock Wallace came in, and he told me I was part of his team, which I thought was great. And then, and this was never ever reported, but I was actually out for 6 months. And basically what happened was, they just said, "Oh, Davey's got an injury," but I actually had contracted hepatitis A at Aberdeen, hotel. We'd actually stayed there before we played Aberdeen, and there was 40 people basically got hepatitis A because of raspberries, I think it was, and stupidly I was the only one that had the raspberries. So I was out for a long time recovery from that, and that killed my career, I think, at Rangers, because it was difficult to come back from that. But I tell you how good a man Jock Wallace was, because one of the things as a player, see, if you're injured and you're out of things, it becomes a very, very lonely place, because you're not involved in the training, you're sitting in your house on your own. And I sat in my house for what, 4 or 5 months before I came back in on my own. But every game, whether it was a Saturday or a Wednesday game, after the game, the phone would go in my house, and it was Jock Wallace phoning me. How you doing? My nickname was Skippy. Yeah, Skippy, how you doing? I said, I'm okay. He said, right, let me talk you through how the game went today. And he would talk through the game, who played well, who didn't play well, what he thought about the next game, asking after me, so on and so forth. And he did that for 4 months. So there's not many people would do that for you. And that told me a lot about Jock Wallace. But as I say, the papers, I think there was a wee bit of stigma in those days about AIDS, hepatitis, because people didn't quite understand hepatitis. That's hepatitis A, which is basically it's a virus in your liver. And as I say, I caught it from raspberries at a hotel in Aberdeen before we played Aberdeen. So, but the club reported that he's got a long-term injury. I certainly did.
Would that be the tops in Aberdeen, would it?
Sorry?
Would that have been the treetops in Aberdeen?
No, it was probably look up. I think it was the Hospitality Inn. It was Dice at the airport.
Right.
And I've actually got a report of it, because I put that in my book and reported the environmental health report about, I think it was 40 people that were basically contracted that. So I was the unlucky one, which didn't help. But that kind of killed my season. And I came back, and Jock, to his credit, was, as I say, was absolutely brilliant. And he said to me, "Look, we're playing Celtic in the League Cup final." He said, "If you can prove your fitness, you're back in." So I came back in, did well, but then strangely, I get booked, and it was over the penalty threshold, and was suspended for the game. So that's the kind of luck I had at that time. So it wasn't the greatest.
No, health and booking. You didn't get a lot of bookings. I read the day that you only 12 bookings. 12 bookings and never sent off for Rangers. Yeah.
I was only sent. I played 20 years, and I was only sent off once in my career. And that, believe it or not, that was for deliberate handball. And it was my last game. I was at Kilmarnock, and I had a groin problem, and I decided, look, I had a really good job at Tennent's, and I decided to basically retire gracefully. And then I caught the bug again, and went up to play for Paul Hegarty at Forfar. And we were playing, I think it was the third last game of the season. I'm on the post for a corner. My hand's on the post, my right hand's on the post. Their player headers it, and it hits off my hand on the post. And the referee gives a penalty and sends me off for deliberate handball. So I'm afraid I chased him around the pitch, which wasn't the nicest thing to do. But having played, I don't know, maybe nearly 600 games, my last game, I get sent off for deliberate handball. It was outrageous, and I let the referee know.
To your last game for our club, Rangers, are games that are legendary. Obviously, before each game, which was a game that nobody else had seen, and you were outstanding. And your very last game was a Glasgow Cup tie on a Friday night.
Yeah, it was a strange. It was a strange way that I left Rangers, because obviously I'd basically had a cartilage operation, and 2 to 3 weeks later, I'm on the treatment table on a Friday, and Jock comes over and he says, Big Craigie Patterson's injured his ankle. He said, Skippy, are you ready to play tomorrow against Celtic? And the physio said, Jock, he'd an operation 3 weeks ago. There's no chance of him playing. And he said to me, Skippy, said, you'd run through a brick wall for this team. And I said, I know I would. He said, are you playing tomorrow against Celtic? And I said, of course I am. So I played 3 weeks after a cartilage operation, and basically scored the goal, the fourth goal. It was given to me by the Rangers News, and actually Pat Bonner told me that it was over the line. So I'll take that. And then Jock got the sack, and Graham Souness came in and said to me, says, Davey, says, I know that you've got an injury with your knee, but I need you to play. He said, we've got 5 games to go. He said, I want you to play centre midfield and coach Derek Ferguson on one side and Ian Durrant on the other side. And I said, right, absolutely. He said, I'll get your knee fixed during the summer. He said, because I'm going to extend your contract. And I thought, well, that's great. So I played. I was in agony every game with my knee. And then the last game of the season, we beat Motherwell 2-0 to get into Europe, so we'd achieved what we wanted to do. And the Friday, the game against Celtic in the Glasgow Cup final, Graham said to me before the game, he said, can I speak to you? And I said, He said, listen, Davey, says, your knee's knackered. I says, well, I know it's knackered. I says, I told you that when you came in. He says, he says, but the doc says he reckons you'll have to go part-time. He said, so I can't offer you that contract. I went, oh, dearie me. So he said, but I want you to play tonight. He says, it's a good game for you to exit. So I said, okay. So I played, and it was a great game. And McCoist scored a hat-trick. I think I made 2 of his goals, believe it or not. And I'm coming off the pitch, and I didn't want to come off, and all the players were saying to me, because I got a wee bit emotional when they said, Skippy, it's only the Glasgow Cup final we've won. I said, I know. So I went into the dressing room, and Graham announced to the players that I was leaving, and they were a wee bit shocked. And I grabbed my boots and my number 4 jersey, although I had a bit of a fight with the physio who wanted to take the number 4 jersey, because he said to me, you'll ruin a good set. And get my boots, my jersey, and that was it. I'd get paid to the end of the month, and that was it. I was no longer a Rangers player. So
ruthless footballer.
Well, listen, it's see, at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do, and I think I wanted to be part of the Graham Souness revolution because I knew that he'd bring in decent players. I wanted to be part of that because I think the thing is, when you play with good players, you play better yourself. Because, as I said to you, when you've got players that want the ball, you can play, and if you've got a bit of drive and momentum, and you give 100% momentum, and you give 100%, then you can find a way into a team. And I just wanted a chance to do it. I wanted to get my knee fixed and continue to play. But I left there, signed for Airdrie, and got a really good job at Tennant. So in writing my book, I've kind of closed the circle and said to myself, right, everyone's for a reason, and I would never have worked for Tennants or a career in the pub industry, or indeed been chief executive of several clubs if I'd not have taken that leap when I was just 29. So
that's what I'll skip by Airdrie and Kilmarnock. And by the way, I believe he scored the goal and got Kilmarnock promoted as well for a penalty kick. Is that correct?
That's correct. And
yep.
But one of the things was I had to square the circle about leaving Arsenal, and it was about penalty kicks. Tommy Gemmell was at Dundee and taught me how to take a penalty kick. And when I was at Kilmarnock, final game of the season, full house, and get a penalty kick, 8 minutes to go. We need to score that to get promoted. And I just grabbed the ball and I thought about what Tommy Gemmell told me all these years ago, and I rattled it down the middle, and we won 2-1. We get promoted, so that was a good part of my the tail end of my career.
Your career finished, and then you've done some things that no a lot of players do. You moved into the business side of the game. Yeah, did that come about? Obviously, you mentioned the pub game, tenants game. Did that stir your interest in that side of the game?
Well, I didn't want to be a coach. I tried that, and there was a few things that I just didn't. I didn't see that for me. So again, working for tenants, I was there for 12 years. Did very well there, and then had one pub company with 3 others. With 44 pubs and hotels, so we did very well. I was asked to get in and sort it out, which I did, and then I thought, right, what do I do now? Because we sold it, and I thought, right, I want to get back into football, and I was eventually asked to be the general manager at Kilmarnock, and that's where it started. So,
yeah, how did you find that? How did you find that side of the game?
Very easy, because I knew the game. I always say that in a boardroom, you need football expertise, because they're all very good businessmen, but football's different, and you have to understand the language of the dressing room. And I've seen it in many clubs where they don't have that football knowledge, and it basically, I don't think it works. And when I was at Kilmarnock, I sorted out a lot of things from the football perspective, and we did very well. We regularly finished in the top 6 for a club that had not a lot of budget. Really good manager, Jim Jeffries. So that was great. And then I went to Dundee, and they just came out of administration and sorted them out with budget-wise, and again had a good time there, and I've done a lot of work for other clubs over the years. So that was good. That I love football, and I love being involved in it. But as I say, you have to understand the business side of running a football club. It's not difficult, but you also need to understand the football side, and you have to join the two. If you don't join the two up and join the fans up as well, the 3 things: boardroom, dressing room, and terracing. If you don't join those 3 things up, work hard at joining them up, then you have problems. And that's what I did at every club that I was involved in. Made sure that all 3 were perfectly aligned, and it worked.
A question about our club, David. The fans, and it's been widely reported, we had nothing between the manager and the boardroom. So it doesn't matter what you call the role, you say it's important, yeah?
I think it's important because I think that, for example, I'll give you an example. I was at Kilmarnock, and basically we'd taken £1 million, had to take £1 million off the budget because the bank wanted to reduce the losses. And Jim Jeffries was the manager, and him and I worked very, very closely in making it happen. And I remember we'd lost 2 games, and I remember one board member saying at a board meeting, we need to get rid of the manager. What do you mean? Because he's lost these 2 games. So the owner of the club, Jamie Moffat, said to me, he said, no, I said, hold on a minute. He said, we've brought David McKinnon in here because of his expertise in business, but also because he knows the game. So we're not capable of making that decision. David, what do you think about it? And I said, well, it's not the right decision. I said, the manager's has had 15 injuries. He's getting 10 players back. He'll get back in track. I said, and he's also had to take £1 million out of the budget. And Jamie Moffat said, right, that's it. We're taking what this man tells us. And basically, Jim Jeffries started winning games again, and I think we ended up 3rd or 4th in the league. So that's good boardrooms. They listen to somebody that's an expert, because I would equate that to, see if you've got somebody on a board that's a human resources expert. You ask them their advice in human resources areas, if you've got a financial person on the board, you ask them about financial stuff. So you should have somebody on the board that you can ask football questions for, because it's totally different. And I've seen so many clubs where, they make the wrong decision from a football perspective because they believe that that's how they should do it. So I think Rangers have got a very good board at the moment. I think that they're all have got the heart of the club, at the forefront. But I think what they need to do is they don't have a football expertise, and for me, I think they need to get that in some way.
Mm-hmm.
As the director of football or whatever. I mean, it was easy for me because I knew football from both sides, both from the dressing room and the business side. So therefore, I didn't need a director of football. But if you've not got somebody that's got a football perspective, you need to get that into your club because it's going to stymie you at some stage.
Right, so that's how slide tackles and the boardroom battles came about then, yeah?
Well, what happened was that a near fatal accident last year,
Right.
and
Yep.
I'm relatively private. I don't like talking about private things, but it was about my recovery and about how I overcome challenges because I ruptured an artery into my brain, and I was very lucky to survive it. And there was some dark days trying to recover from that. So what I did was I thought, right, okay, I need to get out of my bed. Let me write something down. I'd been asked to write a book before, but never had the notion. But I thought, right, let's talk about my recovery and using some of the challenges that I had in my football career. And, I had lots of daily challenges for 3-4 months, including thinking about my mortality, and then what I started doing was thinking about players and managers that are sadly no longer here. And I integrated the stories of my recovery from that fall that I had with my football career, and it's it's not a book that's like I played for the school team and a scout came and picked me up. It's about the challenges that you overcome in life, and that was a challenge that I had, and how I used my football experience to actually overcome them. And if I could what I actually decided myself was if I've overcome challenges like having your kidney removed when you're 24 years of age, and then having a career for another 12, 13 years, then you can overcome anything else. And that was it. So I started using that, and I used it as a kind of a template for myself for my recovery. And then as I've had further tests, I've discovered I've got a footballer's heart issue, which basically is like when you train as a player, your heart grows so big, your muscle, and then when it starts to contract, sometimes it doesn't go into shape. And I've got discovered I've got a hereditary thing that causes that problem, and it's happened a lot to footballers. Sadly, it's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and it's what players collapse on the pitch, and it's sadly what happened to Phil O'Donnell. And in Scotland, I've discovered it's not mandatory to test players. I think when Phil died, they were trying to bring it in, but basically it's put down to the clubs. The Hampden Clinic, under the very good John McLean, writes to the clubs and says, right, okay, if you want your players tested, come and here's the cost of it. And some clubs do it, some clubs don't. So I'm trying to get a way of funding all that and get all the parties involved to make sure that we test and screen our players, because they do it in England. So why can we not do it in Scotland? Because, what I don't want to do is I want to try and get that sorted. That's a quest for me, because I don't want us to have to sort it when somebody sadly dies again in the park. And also ex-players as well. I've spoken to a few ex-players. There's two highly prominent players who've got the same thing as me, kept it quiet. And in the new year, we're going to raise awareness of this, and they're prepared to come out and stand by me and talk about it to see how we can get a solution to sort this. Because, you shouldn't be going to your work and suddenly collapse in the park and that's no longer. So we can sort this, and that's my next question objective.
Seems strange that, particularly the top level of the game, where the guys have maybe assets, financial assets, that they've not got a duty of care to look after them. Yeah, seems strange.
Well, that's my view, and I think I mean, I don't think anybody's at fault. I think what's happened is it's just been allowed not to be tackled, if you pardon the pun, but it has to be tackled because, if you're going to your work and you've got this thing, then you have to understand it, because it can be treatable. They can treat it, particularly if they get it at an early age, and there's ways of tackling it. So that's my next objective, to get that on the agenda again. It'll be others and more smarter people that come up with a solution. But I think I'm in a position just now where I'm the luckiest guy in the world that had that fall, because if I'd never had that fall, I'd never had the tests to determine that I've got this. And the other thing is, what I want to do is, there's a 1 in 2 chance, 50% chance that my blood relatives have got it, my kids have got it. So they're going to get tested for it. So it's not just about me, it's about, the people below us, blood relatives. So it works out a lot of people. And I think the other thing, the Scottish Government have introduced a lot of screening programmes, bowel cancer, breast cancer. And I think that this fits in with their objectives. So I'd like to see screening for heart issues. There's a great charity in England that actually work in Scotland as well, and they called CRY, Cardiac Risk in the Young. And what they do is they offer to test kids that are involved in sport between 14 and 35, even up to 35. And they've tested 300,000 people. They were in Stornoway 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were in Paisley a couple of weeks ago. So they come up to Scotland, and basically it's 1 in 300 of people tested have a heart issue that needs sorted. So it's just something, again, to get it back in the agenda, raise awareness, and make people aware that this needs looked at again. So that's the next thing for me.
Wow. Listen, when's your book coming out?
It's on pre-sale at the moment at Morgan Lawrence, but it's you'll get a nice signed copy on the 2nd of November. Another thing, can I just say, also, the fact is, like, during my career, particularly my first 2 years at Rangers, I was very, very lucky that I got, probably in 2 years, I get around about 100, or just over 100 Player of the Years. And I made it my objective to go round every club that had given me the honour of being their Player of the Year to collect the award. And some nights I was going to 4 different clubs around the country to collect it. So David Cooper said to me, he says, you only get it because you go and pick it up. But I was, I was from Elgin to Kirkcudbright, Northern Ireland, England, everything. So what I want to do is I'd like to get around the clubs again. So I would, kindly, if you could, we're putting out there that any Rangers supporter club that would like me to come along with maybe some guests, talk about my book, talk about my time at Rangers, and bring some books along, I'd be very, very happy to do it at no cost to them. So it means I'm re-engaging with the supporters, because I think without the supporters, there's no football, no clubs. So, getting round the clubs would be great again for me. So if anybody that runs a Rangers supporter club anywhere in the country and anywhere in Northern Ireland would like me to come across with, maybe some ex-players, then we'd be delighted to do so. So just get in touch with yourself and make it happen.
If you contact us here at Rangers Radio, we'll pass the details on to you, David.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Listen, just a couple of questions before we finish up. And thank you. It's been superb, mate. I've really enjoyed it, honestly. Who were the leaders in that Rangers team that you played with? Who were the leaders? Because we had a debate last night about leadership in the park. Was there strong leaders? Was it important?
We were all, I think, the experienced players, like I said, that been through it all. Derek Johnson was a great leader as far as he didn't, he led by example. And I think one of the things is that, throughout the team, players led by example. There was nobody kind of keeping you right all the time because you had your own standards. So you knew what the expectations were. So, but if you, for some reason, if you failed to reach that standard, there was enough people within the team, throughout the team, that would say, "You come on, get your finger out and start playing." Davy Cooper was very vocal in how he would speak to people. Ali Dawson, sadly missed. Great friend of mine. We played in the same Lifebuoy team. When we were 12 years of age. So I've known him for a lot of years. He was great. John McClellan was good on the park. Craig Park. We were all good on the park. But I remember I had the honour of being captain of Rangers against Morton, Caplo in the Cup. And the game should never have been played because it was iced and rutted and everything. And I remember saying to the referee, Kenny Hope, this is no chance getting on. He said, you bottling it? I said, absolutely not. He said, they've sold 12,000 tickets and the TV cameras are here, so the game's going on. So I said, so all the players, I was made the captain for that game, so all the players in the dressing room were going, oh, parts this, the parts that. So what I decided to do, and it was something that was outside my comfort zone. I said, right, guys, listen in. And they said, what is it? I said, listen, parts know what we want it to be. I said, but our application and the players that we've got have got skills within the team that'll carry us through. So let's go for it. Let's get a good lead. Let's win the game and let's get out of here and go into the next round of the cup. And I got a clap around the applause because it was the right thing to say at the right time. And David Cooper, in his usual dry sense of humour, sat down beside me and put his arm around me and says, Skippy, have you been drinking? Because they knew that it wasn't me. And we were winning 3-1 and then Frost and all that came down and we drew 3 each, but beat them in the replay and get through into the next round. So it's all about attitude and it's all about being a leader, understanding what your role is in the club, win your battles and being a leader and by example, show the rest of the team. So, Rangers should have 11 leaders on the park in every game. That's what I would say. And that's what you need. You need 11 leaders on the park. If somebody's maybe not having a good game, you basically, support them and take their thing on and encourage them and get them moving. Because there's nothing worse than having a game when it's no working for you. You need somebody, your teammate to say, come on, keep doing the simple things that will come for you. And that's what leadership's about on a park.
Brilliant. I looked at that today, that game, 3 each game. Do you know you played Morton 3 times in a week? You played
did
them,
we?
Yeah, you did that. You played them in the cup, then you played them in the replay on the Wednesday, then you played them again in the league. How the game has changed. And last question before you go, I'm not going to ask you how the name Skippy came about, even though I'm intrigued.
I'll tell you.
But how good was Coop?
He was magnificent, but I think the thing is, Coop was a guy. He basically, I lived in Renfrew and he lived in Hamilton, and he used to get the train in and then the subway, and he would get in there for 9 o'clock. Because I lived in Renfrew, I was in at 9 o'clock as well. Train didn't start to 10 o'clock, 10:30, and there was underneath the main stand there was the warm up area, but there was also a head tennis court. And he would say to me, right, come on, Skipper. He said, come on, you can warm me up. And there was pipes all over the place, and he'd serve, and he'd basically whack it off the pipe so the angle would change, and I was dancing about all the time trying to get it back, and he would be laughing and all that. He was magnificent. He could, but his attitude just at times wasn't right, because I think that him and John Gregg didn't really get on well at times, and I think you wouldn't imagine this, but Cook was sub a lot of times.
Aye, I know that.
Basically, that was a problem for him. But then, obviously, Jock Wallace getting back in the side, and Graham Souness basically gave him a lead to go and do what he wanted to do in the park, and he was a magnificent player, and one of the nicest guys I've ever met in football. And him and I were really good friends, and I was honoured to have Davy Cooper as a friend, not just a teammate. And again, very, very sadly missed. And I talk about him endlessly in my book, just about some of the things that happened between us. But him and I had a good relationship, because he knew I gave 100%, and that's all he wanted players to give 100%, because he knew what it meant to play for Rangers.
Skippy, how did that come about before you?
That was Ali Dawson and Cook that gave me that name. And what happened was, one of my injuries when I was at Dundee, when I went to Dundee, with my ankle injury, I had to get 1/4 inch cut out my left ankle. Right, so I had one leg shorter than the other, believe it or not, and caused me a lot of problems.
How have you managed to get to this age? How have you managed to get to this age?
I know. Well, that's it. It's the history of the metal man. But I basically, what I used to do, we used to do shooting after training, and basically, apparently, when I had a shot, I used to skip, because I had to try and get my left leg back down on the turf. So I'd hit the ball on my right, and then my balance had been affected, and I managed to get back down it. So apparently skipped. So the first time we did train shooting, Coop and Ali Dawson said to me, "Oh, there's the old Skippy boy there." And I said, "What do you mean?" And they told me. And actually, somebody took there was a cameraman there from STV, and they persuaded him to take basically a bit of film footage of me. And sure enough, I did a skip when I had a shot. So that was it, Skippy. Nothing to do with being Australian or anything like that. It was just a skip when I hit the ball. So, and it carried through my career. So everybody calls me Skippy now. Even I'm on a WhatsApp group for all the old Rangers guys, and it's always Skippy. So it's stuck.
Brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. I could talk to you all night.
Well, I really appreciate it. Thanks a million.
Can you tell everybody what your book is, where they can get it, and another shout out to the Rangers supporters clubs, mate, so they hear it again?
Yeah, well, it's Slide Tackles and Boardroom Battles. You can get it on Amazon, or indeed at the publisher Morgan Lawrence, and you can pre-order it just now, and it'll be delivered to you on the 2nd of November. And as I say, I'd be very, very happy to come round any supporters club anywhere in the country, to talk about the team that we love, Glasgow Rangers.
David MacKinnon, thank you very much. Loved it.
Well, thank you, and all the very best for the rest of the season.
Yeah, in order. See if you can keep away from the doctors, eh?
Aye, absolutely. Well, that's me. I'm just getting the heart thing sorted, and that's me. I'm back in the saddle again. So
brilliant. You'll look after yourself. What a career!
Aye, absolutely.
And somebody said, "Remember us, unsung hero, mate, unsung hero."
Ah, well, I had a great relationship with the fans, and that was absolutely the best thing for me, because, as I say, having stood in the terrace, and I know what fans expect, and it was an honour to play for the club. That's it, 177 times. So that's a lot of games, 177.
Considering you're only fit for 3 weeks.
I know. Well, there you are. There's somebody put it up. The link. That's very kind of you. Listen, thank you so much, and all the very best for the rest of the season, for the team and for yourselves. And show's great. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, Dave. We'll put it out on all our social media, yeah?
Fantastic. And if I can do anything for you anytime, you've got my number, just get in touch. Okay?
No problem. Pleasure, mate.
Take
Pleasure.
care. Thanks
Cheers,
a lot.
mate. Cheers.
Bye.
Well,
I sailed the wild Atlantic, across the broad Pacific shore. I sailed around the stormy capes, and I've heard the 40s roar. I've flied the Indian Ocean, I've sailed the China Sea, but never see back home in Scotland more than all the rest of me. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my love. It's the greatest sight that I have ever seen. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my love. And it's part of the really ridiculously. No more I'll sail the seven seas, no more I'll ever roam. No more I'll feel the urge again, I'm back where I belong. And be a glory Saturday, I'll join the mighty throng. With flags and banners all around, I'll proudly sing this song. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my love. It's the greatest sight that I have ever seen. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my love. And it's not something really ridiculously. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my love. It's the greatest sight that I have ever seen. It's the blue, blue, blue sea of my love. And it's not something really ridiculously. And it's not something really ridiculously.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
one thing I never go, I've joined myself up here back in the show is Bridgeman, Juicy Bear, and the Queen of Rangers Radio, no Southside, there's Linda. How we doing?
Evening, Oxford.
Excellent.
Evening, everyone.
Evening, Bridge.
Good evening to yourself, Oxford. That was really interesting. Can I just say to all the Rangers fans listening in, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio.
Juicy Bear. Juicy Bear.
Oh, good evening, everyone. What a fantastic interview that was, Ox. Parkinson, got nothing on you, my man. Just superb listening. What a club legend, a stalwart of our club. But whoever the interviewee is, you conduct yourself magnificently as well, sir.
No, it was a pleasure, mate. Pleasure. What a nice guy. Yeah, on off on there, and good friends of the show. Good way. True Blue. A lot of people remember True Blue. Big part of Rangers Radio. Davey was good friends with him, and my own Port Bear as well. Davey's friendly way, so he's a top man, and it was enjoyable, Linda. Football was different then.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a fantastic, guy he is. And he came over absolutely brilliantly. Obviously, a real passion for Rangers, and overcame adversity on and off the park. Oxy, it's he'd some story to tell, and yeah, really enjoyed it. It was fantastic having him on the show. Absolutely.
Yeah, lost a kidney, hepatitis, all the injuries. Yeah, and then we'll get guys out for 6 months with a split pinky nail.
Good on.
You know?
Aye.
Yeah. Right, come and join us, 0141 356 1972. Give your thoughts on Dave McKinnon. Give your thoughts on anything Rangers related. The floor's yours, Linda.
Yeah, it was, obviously it was, just hearing and Dave talk there, Ox, it made you think a lot about the current situation as well, didn't it? Talking about passion and what the fans want, 100% commitment, and quite a lot of his chat as well, Ox, was about aligning the club, the fans, the board, and the manager, and quite a lot of what we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, isn't it?
I think he got that spot on. I mean, he said the clubs he was on, he was all right because he had the bridge, but we've, no pun intended, we've not had the bridge between the dressing room and the boardroom, Linda.
No, and it's obviously something that we've been talking about with this director of football, position. But obviously, Dave, he was talking a bit about what goes on in the boardroom and the fact that try to get decisions right. And quite interesting, he said he thought that the current board have got the club at heart, but they're maybe missing, just as you've said rightly there, somebody with a real football background, Ox.
Yeah, that'll be the talk. And obviously, our leadership talk last night, Juicy, he said every Rangers player should be a leader.
Well, yeah. And what could we do with a workman like that in our team now, Ox? And you just want that drive and that leadership. And as you said, unsung hero, my friend.
Wasn't he a bad player? Bridgeman. Press that button, you'll be fine. Press that button. Come on, there we go.
Hey, buddy.
All right, yeah. Top man, top player. Eh?
Oh, yeah, I've seen him many times. Dave McKinnon, cracking player. A really good Rangers boy. I remember him when he was with Partick Thistle and people were talking about him,
Mm-hmm.
They should get him up at Rangers here because he got what they're looking for, And yeah, when he mentioned that, him and Ali Dawson, I remember that well as well. Actually, sometimes with the tackling, they were alike, A wee bit rough on the edges, as they say.
Oh, he was, I think back in the day, some of the fans called David Kamikaze. He was that brave, Linda. Yeah, he put his head where people never put their feet.
And he was talking about he needed to sort of change his style a wee bit, and you were asking him obviously about our current right back and the difference between defending and attacking, and he was quite supportive of Tav, wasn't he? He said that it was a plus what he gave us going forward. But the thing about the injuries, when Souness came in, he asked him to play with his sore knee. That just wouldn't happen these days, Ox. As you say, a broken pinky fingernail and they're out for 6 months, as you rightly said earlier.
Different times, different times.
A lot of different times. It was all about just getting on with it and didn't have 5 substitutions then. You were lucky if you had 3 back in the day. And,
Two.
Goodness me. My dad can remember when it was none. And you always look at players from back in whatever the previous era was, and regardless of how well your team's doing now, you always try and draw comparisons. And you think if he was in our team now, how would he try and work it at the back and improve things? And there's always time for a player like that to give advice, even if he doesn't play anymore. And I'm definitely purchasing that book for my father.
Yeah, we're all looking for stocking fillers. You keep it clean now, Bridgeman. For Christmas, maybe a good read in there. Yeah. Oh, he's on mute. Aye. Interesting stuff. Played with some great Rangers players, Linda. Great when you actually look at it. I was quite, he played the most games. The guy who played the most games was David Cooper. And he was manager with Jock Wallace and John Gregg, and then obviously Tommy McLean, Walter Smith, Graham Souness, and Alec Totten all managed them. But Cooper, Ali Dawson, McCoist, McLeod, John McDonald, that's a shout out for Big Stevie, Derek Johnston. I'm highlighting here the top, Ian Duran, guys that went on and played. And then he played 2 games with Gordon Smith when he came back and loan, played with Jimmy Nicholl. Fabulous players. Yeah. He played 1 game with Scott Nisbet.
Interesting as well, Oxy was talking about how when McCoist came to the club and he had to link up with him and Davy Cooper, and they went over to the Albion to practice, and basically McCoist told him where he wanted him to put the ball, and Davy Cooper obviously was there as well, and then obviously the following game, he set up Coist's goal. Was it the 27-second goal he was talking about?
Yeah,
the work that they put in practicing under the main stand, it's just incredible. And look at what the players have got these days, the facilities, they've got everything for them. When you think about the players that we've had and the conditions that they trained in as well in years gone by, it puts things into perspective a wee bit, Ox, doesn't it?
They had to get in the team to earn more money. The game's changed a lot, Bridger.
Absolutely, pal. Absolutely. And when I'm sitting listening to him, he's talking about players. Obviously, they were friends of his and obviously teammates and that. And a wee bit jealousy because he knows all these people you used to sit and watch. You think, oh my goodness gracious, it's wonderful. Great memories, absolutely fabulous memories. Talking about when he should play the Morton and that's 3 times in the 1 week. Just incredible stuff. But I remember these things. Remember them. I like the boy. I liked him.
Yeah, you imagine the modern football. Just say if there was a draw in a cup tie, you played the following midweek. You played again, and if it was a draw again, you played the next weekend.
Well, I mean, one thing that happens now, Ox, is it doesn't get arranged quite so quickly, does it? You get replays when they do happen. You certainly don't get it in the same week, do you? I mean, that's some organisation, isn't it, to get it turned around that quick, because that's kind of unheard of now. Very occasionally you get cup matches and then you play the same team by coincidence in the league, but 3 times in a row, that's as I said, that's some organisation to turn it around so quick.
Yeah, Morton 3 times, once in the league. Yeah, but 3 games in a row we played Morton. That's some interesting stuff from top man. He's got a story to tell in London.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, the adversity off the park as well. He's had to overcome a lot of things, health issues, and just gets on with it. As you said, his book will be a fantastic read. Hopefully, manage to pick that up for members of the family to have a read at it. And it was just really great listening to him, Ox. And as you said earlier, making some of the comparisons to situations that we're going through just now, and he was very complimentary about managers like guys like John Greig as well. Quite interesting. He says he didn't think he'd get enough backing, and as you said, he was ahead of his time, and David a lot of respect for John Greig.
Maybe people would say we were building a stadium, Linda. Just at that time, it was all coming to an end. We've got to buy for it. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
But interesting. I found a lot of that interesting, and I found some of it relevant for us, Bridgeman, when he talked about you need that bridge, as I said earlier, between the dressing room and the boardroom. Yeah.
Well, I've been thumping on that for the last month or so. It looked as if that guy Neil was kind of lost. There wasn't anybody there, I would imagine, he could actually talk to. And I don't think so. Desperately need a Gordon Smith in there. He's a wonderful speaker, Gordon Smith. Great speaker, great character. And he would have helped him. I'm not saying he would have been made a star or anything like that. But your club desperately, I think, honestly, desperately needs someone like that. Not a ruthless chief executive or anything like that. We've probably got a couple of them. But a technical football guy. The guy who played at the top level in internationals. great, won a lot of cups for leagues with Rangers. So as far as I'm concerned, I'd offer him the job. He might not want it nowadays. Maybe feels he's too old. But I would offer him it.
Well, he's also somebody that's made his way in business as well. But interesting. Juicy, what have you made of the new manager coming in?
Well, it's always exciting when you get a new guy in charge, isn't it, Ox? He has a track record in Europe, winning any league in Europe 3 years in a row with 2 different teams is a fairly unique achievement. Did okay at Monaco, difficult in that league. Monaco aren't crazily supported in terms of their numbers, so that was one thing that he said when he came here, that the support that we get at home is massive in comparison to all the clubs that he's managed. But I like how he conducts himself. Time will tell. I'm not going to put any crazy predictions or expectations, but of course, as a few of you guys have said, not winning the League Cup is not an option. So he's coming in at the semi-final stage. And although I've always not thought it was the best of tournaments, it's there to be won. We've got to bring that home first. And you talk about endearing yourself to the fans, Ox. It's a very good way to start.
Yeah. Linda, obviously we heard from the manager since you've been last on. What's your thoughts now?
Yeah, I just thought he handled himself brilliantly at the presser. He came over really well. There's just a real presence about him, and you just got. I know it's just somebody talking, but you just felt as if he's a real football guy, a proper football man. The experience, as Juicy said, that he's bringing to the club, and it will just depend on how things go on the park. We know that, but I thought he handled everything superbly, answered the questions really well. There was a few tricky ones. He was asked as well, Ox, about current players, maybe changing the captain. How is he going to get a sort of tune out of these players that are devoid of confidence, all that sort of thing. And I thought it went very, very well, and I was very impressed by him.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, Bridgeman.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. As you say, when you listen to the boy talking, I think we've had him on before, haven't we?
Dave MacKinnon?
Aye.
No.
Have you not interviewed him before?
No.
I listened to an interview with him before with somebody, and he really talks well. And you realise he's only one kidney and things like that. He's starting on there like some sort of Superman, and the injuries he's had and the illnesses. Amazing character. Imagine you had somebody like that in your team now. It'd be great, wouldn't it? We don't have anybody like that in the team.
It was also funny what he said about the right back at the moment. He says he's well on the plus, Linda.
Yeah, definitely, Ox. He's positive about Tav. Obviously, when Dave was starting football, you had to defend first and foremost. But no, he was complimentary in terms of it being a plus. I liked that because he didn't really, he wasn't going to hang anybody out to dry, and a bit like the new manager didn't hang anybody out to dry at the presser as well. Very diplomatic was Philip, wasn't he?
Yeah. Right, okay. Right. Could we learn a lot for the past, Juicy?
Can always learn from the past because you don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, but you also want to learn from the good things that have happened as well. And I had some good thoughts there, didn't he, about playing 3 at the back and to unleash Tav. My only concern with that is, just Tav still got great legs in him. I think he has in moments because he's still scored some goals this season, Ox. I wouldn't be opposed to trying that out. It'd be really interesting to see what formations the manager adapts to when he's coming in. But you can always learn from the past, and you need to.
Been joined by Bob J. Evening, Bob J.
Hi, evening everyone. How are you doing? I'm sorry I missed David McKinnon. On the past tense, I'm really sorry I missed him. In the future tense, again, I'm so optimistic about your new manager. Seems that, as Linda says, he carries himself very well. I take it she was talking about the manager anyway. And
Yes.
David McKinnon as well, of course. He carries himself very well, answers the questions very well, handles the press very well. The future's bright, the future's Rangers.
Yeah.
Have I got... Hello, you there, Ox?
Yeah, we're here, mate. We're listening to you.
A couple of my David McKinnon memories were the game against Inter Milan. I'm sure he mentioned that.
Yeah, he did.
The game at Ibrox. Now, Rangers played really, really well that night, and I felt so sorry for them. And another abiding memory with me with David McKinnon, we were in direct opposition to him and Bannon one day at Tannadice when he played with Dundee United. And he tackled Bannon and the ball went out for a throw into them. And Bannon went in front of the Rangers supporter to get the ball. And I always remember there was a mince pie coming out and I'm flushing the face. And to be fair to the boy, he never fronts, but I can remember that. We got beat 4-2 that day, by the way. But there you go. That was a couple of my David McKinnon memories. A wholehearted player and a gentleman, by all accounts.
Well, we know who never threw the pie.
Well, it wasn't me anyway.
We know who it was, Linda, don't we?
No, because that would be a waste.
It wouldn't be me.
It would be a waste.
No names, no pack drill. We'll leave that one for the callers. But no name. We know who never threw it.
That's really funny.
That's a fact.
Aye, so aye. Top player. And over greatest side. But he was a guy who gave us everything he had, and he had some injuries, you know.
He had a thing like a kidney problem, did you know?
Aye, only one kidney, aye.
At one time, that's right, aye. I remember that. But I'll tell you what, he gave everything and everything for the Rangers, David McKinnon. And it was Souness that let him go when he came in the door. I think he played one game for Souness, and Souness thanked him for his services, and that was that. But he gave a whole. I mind that night against Inter Milan, he had a shot and he produced a wonder save. You remember the Italian goalkeeper Zinga?
Aye.
That was him that night, and he produced a wonder save for David McKinnon that night. Aye. Yeah, memories. I didn't know he'd played as much as 178 games for Rangers. There you go.
Man.
That's an eye opener.
Aye.
He played the majority of them under Big Jock and Alec Totten,
Aye, and you can listen to all and catch up. You'll hear the whole interview, Bob, online, yeah?
You can what, sorry, Ox?
You'll be able to listen to the whole interview online. I know you missed the start of the show, but if you listen back, you can get it on YouTube.
Aye, Juicy was telling me, yeah. Aye.
Right, so aye. Mention some great Rangers managers, Juicy Bear, a bit before your time, mate, but some legends in there,
Oh yes. But one's my father would know well, and he was listening to that interview as well, and it always brings back memories of great managers, players, and big games, as Bob Jerb was just mentioning there in terms of the Milan game. And I was very little when he was in the team, but all the footage is there to see now in the books, and as a fan, regardless of your age, you always want to know about the previous generations of players and the good teams and the bad teams, and what worked well. But regardless of how well the team did, there's always individuals who do their best, and he was one of those guys. And always respect people that can play that many matches for us.
Aye. It's great to have a player on, Linda, isn't it, and get a perspective of the dressing room side of things,
Yeah, really interesting. And you're talking about the managers, and he says he had a fallout with Joel Wallace. I wouldn't have liked to have been in his shoes in that regard. But then again, he just got it sorted out, and that was about how he was going to play against Liam Brady, wasn't it? And Jock says he didn't like the fact that he sort of, talked back to him in front of the other players. But But you know, as I say, they put that aside, and then, you know, obviously he just played the rest of the season for them. So, quite a good insight to what goes on. And also when he said that there was some boardroom issues, how it filtered down to the players as well, Ox, you know, like that happens, doesn't it?
I suppose it's like any other work, London, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Aye, you hear things, don't you?
Aye. I mean, we don't see it as work, but ultimately it's a job, innit?
Yeah.
You know. Right, okay. Well, we're starting to build up to a game on Saturday. It seems like, I know it's not even 2 weeks yet, but it seems a long, long time pitch match since we played a game of football.
You know, it's been forever. It's been so long, and of course the new manager getting appointed, and it's piped everything up, and people like myself are getting a bit excited. And you look back and you say, when was the last game we played? You know, St Mirren and that. You think, God almighty, was that last year? Well, it just seems so long ago, you know. But I'm so looking forward to the game. And you're right, dragged in the time, dragged in.
I hear they're trying to change the fixture, so we play Brighton at the weekend, Juicy.
You
know,
Aye,
it's been a long time, and I think we're all intrigued, Juicy Bear, to see what his Philippe's first team's going to be, yeah?
Yeah, I don't expect him to necessarily go absolutely crazy with changes. He kind of implied to me that he wouldn't do that when they were talking to him about the captain and that. But of course, he's still under some restrictions, isn't he, based on the pool of players that are available, Ox, in terms of injuries and that. And there could be one or two back. You know, we might see Cantwell, whether or not he's fit to start, we'll see. But it's a situation where he joins us now, where we're just starting to get a few back, and hopefully that's positive as well, because we need those creative players. That's where we're lacking. You need that quality to make it happen, Ox. And also, please play them in the right positions.
What is his right position, Juicy?
Well, it's not out on the wide positions where we've seen him from time to time. He needs to be, for me, in that cam position, behind the striker, making it happen. And he's done very well there. But Beale had him in positions that, as far as I was concerned, made him fairly ineffective. And as a number of you have attested to. So if you're going to try and do well in a match, at least maximise the abilities that you guys have in terms of what they bring to the table. That doesn't even seem like it's that complicated a management. I mean, whether you're managing an office or whether you're managing a football team, you play to the strengths of the people that you have. Now, if your guy's not good at spreadsheets, don't have him on spreadsheets. Why do we have these players playing out of position all the time, even when we have a fully fit squad? Bill was doing it. That didn't happen very often in terms of having fully fit players, mind. But Cantwell's a talented player. Utilise him correctly and you'll get the best out of them.
Free role, traditional, the new number 10 role. Point at the pivot, whatever they want to call it, whatever, Linda, but just let him go and play, yeah?
Yeah, it was bizarre as well at the beginning of the season when he didn't even start him against Kilmarnock. You know, our best player in the second half of last season when he was fully fit, and he's on the bench, you know, and that was a strange one. You just wonder if the relationship between the two of them, there was maybe something not quite right there, but who knows, it's all in the past now. But just he's spot on about what sort of team he's going to be able to put out, Ox. You know, we're hoping that we don't see some of the players that we've been watching over the past few weeks before the international break. But it'll depend on who he's got available. You know, people come back from international duty, are they fit? You know, there was a wee thing about Cifuentes might have picked up an injury, and you're thinking, well, who are we going to play in the midfield? So, you know, it's not an easy task for him on Saturday, but I just want us to get the victory, Ox, and get us off to a good start in that regard.
Aye, man. By the way, would you think long and hard about signing South American Thunder? With the amount of international football now, and they're going to be doing all that travelling, and they're going to be missing extra games. You'd need to really think about it, wouldn't you?
I think so, Ox. I thought we would have learned a lesson a wee bit in that regard with Morelos. You know, Morelos went away and played for Colombia when he wasn't even fit, and you know, and he was carrying an injury, and you know, we all think he made it worse, etc. And as you say, it's the travelling. It was the same with Scotty Arfield with Canada. So I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's something that you've definitely got to look at.
Bobja.
I would agree with you there, Linda, 100%. I mean, flying away to the other side of the world and then coming back, you have to endure a high-intensity game of football. It can't be easy when you're fitness. So we'll just have to see what squad is available to the man on Saturday. But I really believe that the squad will be too much for Hibernian. Although they're another 4 times a year mob then, but let's control that accusation at the minute. But I can see Rangers winning on Saturday, yeah. I'm not saying it will be easy, but I can see Rangers doing it. And if I've got people back, well, there's Roof fit, there's Lawrence fit, there's Cantwell fit, it's all speculation. You don't know.
Roof
just
might
to
be
see
fit.
Who's available.
Roof might be fit today, but Saturday's a long time away, Bobja.
Aye, that's right. Aye, I know. When he's got to cut his steak with his knife here, he doesn't spray in his wrist.
I thought Roof was pretty poor in the last game, Bridgman.
Aye.
We know he's a good finisher.
He's been a good finisher, no doubt about that. But I think the last time, I think I said earlier, not earlier today, but about when we're talking about it. I don't even think he touched the ball a dozen times, maybe even 7 times. You know, just quite incredible. The stats for him in that game must have been shocking. Not absolute to say his presence wasn't there. He might have been doing some business with the defenders at the back, but seriously, for me, he never did anything. He just never did anything. And shouting and bawling at the other players all the time as well, looking for the ball, of course. But yeah, I don't know what the team's going to be like Saturday. I'm just so looking forward to it. I'll be over there. I'll be at the bistro if there's anybody wanting to come along and say hello. I'll be very happy.
If anybody turns up, will you treat them to? You can't go buy them a coffee and that, but I just take them in for
No, it's outside, isn't
it? What you don't get hit with one of them mince pies, Bridget.
I know.
Oh.
Linda, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're full at Clement. They will assume that Cantwell's fit. Will give you Lawrence? Will we give you Lawrence? He could go on the bench. Yeah. Who else? Roof's fit.
What about Danilo? Do you think there's a chance he'll be okay?
Oh, what do you think?
Too early, do you think?
Well, we'll see. But I'm going to put you in the spot. What's your team, Linda?
Oh, for goodness sake. Right, okay. Well, I agree with you. See, I don't think there'll be that many changes, and I'm afraid most of the players that started against St Mirren will probably feature. But I would go for probably Butland, and I would go for Tav, Goldson. I would play Suter. I would keep him in, and I would actually put young Yilmaz in at left back. I would go with Raskin and Lundstrom. I would maybe set up as a 4-2-3-1. Say Raskin, Lundstrom. And I would actually keep the young boy McCausland in the team. McCausland, Cantwell and Seema, and probably Roof up front if Danilo's not fit.
Yeah, we've been joined by one of the Northwest of the city's finest who maybe been this year at the pie throwing.
Maybe want it back.
Something melted pie.
Big Stevie, how you doing?
Thanks, man. There's not such a thing as a bad pie.
No.
I'll tell you that right now. Listen, I'm on to congratulate Oxter, and a great interview, by the way. Absolutely fantastic, and no doubt the Bells will go in their droves and buy the boy's book. He's a good servant to the club. He loved the club, he loved the fans, and I think we should all dig deep, all the pundits and Rangers Radio, and buy the boy's book. But I'll tell you the truth, Oxter, I fell out with me, Robert Murdo. I got a bus away earlier last night. I think I was getting a slice of pizza, and I found out this morning I was pressing the ring buzzer. But anyway, listen, great interview, guys. That's what the platform's all about. But just when you mentioned pies, I said, I'm getting on there, man. But anyway, well done. Well done to yourself, Oxter. Brilliant interview, and I'll let you carry on. Okay, people?
Before you go, Stevie, he would have been just as you were starting to go to the games. Would that be fair?
Aye, that'd be fair, aye. I was just about... John McClellan was a captain just about then. Aye. I can remember. Funny enough, Ox, you should say that. My first game was a man each straw with Hibs at Ibrox. John McClellan scored the goal. Header. I think it was a one each game against Hibs, my first ever game. I was only a young boy, man. I think I got left out. There you go. So, but it was interesting. But he was saying when you asked him about who was the leaders of the party, and what did they say? Well, we're all leaders. We all looked after each other. Now, ask yourself the question. That's what me and Southside were talking about in Dream Team Wednesday. What have we got now? Where is the leaders now? Who are they? Like, that's the difference. Even in day teams, they all had leaders and looking after each other. I just don't see it, Ox. But anyway, I'm not wanting to put a downer on. Just when I heard these mentioning pies, I said, I better go on there quick.
What about you, Big Stevie? What about worried about you? It took you a long time to get on.
Oh, aye, okay. Aye. The time I get through the border control and all that, no, Pitt Street and stuff like that, you know.
And when
it's a five-line conversation.
When you came last night, how was the spicy chicken pizza?
You know me, there's no a crumb left. I'm licking the big cardboard box and everything. I'm a drum boy. Come on. We get octopus out here for Christmas dinner so we can all get a leg each. I mean, right, good night, folks. Keep up the good work.
Right, Stevie.
Good night.
What he's not telling you about the octopus, he buys it for £2, Linda.
All right, Ox, good one. What a guy he is.
Oh, he's a top man. That was a good laugh last night as well. Aye. And the young team the other night. And then we've got things are going well in Rangers Radio. They're going well. Right, okay, so David, we talked about leadership, we mentioned that, but you need good players and all, you say, it's getting the blend, isn't it?
We've been waiting for that blend for a while with the recent team, haven't we, Ox? And but if you look at the last 12 months across the couple of managers that we've had, the injuries have been a complete disaster, and you can't get any kind of a blend.
Right, I'll let you sign off, Fox. I'll catch you later, mate. Bye-bye now.
The dog's a boss. The dog's a boss.
You've got to get that blend, and when you're impeded by so many injuries, and regardless of what you thought of Gio's style of play or Mr. Bland Beal, it doesn't help, does it? It doesn't help give them the opportunity to get that right blend, Ox.
No, I think Giovanni was maybe even more hamstrung than Beal was for injuries, if I'm honest, but I need to look at it and study it, but we need to get our recruitment right on. We need to get guys who've got character, as Big Stevie and Southside, but they've got pace, they've got desire, and they can play the game. We're not asking for a lot. We're making them millionaires, Linda.
I know. And when Dave was talking about the passion and the 100% commitment, that's all we're looking for. listen, they're not saying that this group of players they're not trying, but there is a wee bit, as it looks to us just now from what we've seen, that there might just be a bit of a lack of ability, and our new manager's got, will have problems in that regard. If that is the case, if he can't get a tune out of them, then he'll be looking to January. But obviously, it's just it's going to take time, Ox. He was talking about trying to get us back to playing better football, and his style is about scoring goals and being more creative. But as you said, you've got to have the players to be able to do that. And from what we've seen so far, we're a wee bit worried in that regard. But we should still have expectations, and when they go out on Saturday, the one thing surely he's going to get them to do is to try and up the tempo a bit, Ox. Even if it is players like Lundstrom that's playing, surely to goodness he'll be saying to him, none of this sideways passing. We don't need 4 or 5 passes between you and Connor Golson before we put the ball forward. We're just looking for a small steps of improvement in that regard, aren't we?
Here, aye, a bit of pace, bit of tempo, and that means that teams don't get back into position, Bridge. It's a simple game, isn't it?
Absolutely, buddy, absolutely. You would think it would be that easy, wouldn't you, to be able to do that? I want to see what this guy's going to bring to the play on Saturday. Some of these players we've been maligning, and by the way, deservedly so. But we have been maligning. They may in fact be good players, and they're just looking for the right guy to bring it all together. That's the man to do it. Because oh dear, I'm so happy that he's in, and all the crap they're talking about before, we can forget it and let's go forward. That's what I'm looking for now. Just go forward with the manager and let's make it all work.
It's quite sad, Linda. I don't think Michael B was going to be looked at fondly.
No. I think it's just the way that we feel as if he's left us in terms of the players that are there, and it's particularly the guys that he talked up so much. You think about it. He talked all, over the summer and at the end of last season about he had all these targets and he wanted to get the business done quickly, that sort of thing. And the injuries haven't helped, Ox, but as Juicy rightly said, the writing was on the wall at the beginning of the season when these players were fit. And as we said previously, it was just too big a job for him.
Aye. Juicy, I'm like you, I don't think there'll be many changes in the weekend, but I agree with Linda. I would also like to play with a bit more tempo in our game, yeah?
Well, the problem is, Ox, who's got that tempo in the team that's available at the moment? So that's a big test, and that's a big... I'm
hoping Cantwell's playing.
Yes. Yeah, well, we'll see. Of course, there's players like Matondo, who's probably not quite there yet, who we know can bring the pace. But Seema's been that standout, even when things weren't going great for us. The guy's been scoring goals. He has got ability. Tragic irony that he's not actually a Rangers player. Will he do enough to maybe give us some interest in purchasing him in the summer? I'd like to see that, but it all depends how things go, because there's still a long way to go in all competitions. But the guys started off well for us.
He has, mate, he has. And hopefully it continues. Hopefully it continues and we roll on Saturday. I think we just take a victory, Linda.
Yeah, absolutely. As Bridgeman says, you don't want to see you take a 1-0 because you want to see goals and we want to see a bit more sort of excitement. But it's his first game we simply can't afford to drop any more points, Ox. That'll be one of his short-term goals. We don't want to go any further behind in the league. If anything, you're hoping, if we can win over the next few weeks, there's another team that needs to go to Edinburgh a couple of times, and you just don't know what's going to happen. But we certainly can't afford to drop any more points. So yes, I would take a 1-0 on Saturday, but I hope it's a bit more comfortable than that.
Yeah, I'm looking for goals. I'll be interested to see who the centre forward is.
Yeah.
I think on form, I think it would need to be Seema Bridgman. Huh? Juicy.
I'm trying to think who else is available that is a forward player. Well, you said Ruth might not start. He might not start. He's made of glass, and he might fall over his coffee table tonight. As you said, it's a long time till Saturday.
I would go with Seema Linda.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it depends how, as we said, who's available. But if you were playing a 4-3-3, Seema could play through the middle. I mean, I think that's maybe the guy's preferred position anyway, but if you've got the choice of playing him through the middle or Dessers, it's got to be Seema all day long. But it will just depend in terms of who else is available, because if you did maybe go for the kind of 4-2-3-1, he could fit into that 3. And as I said earlier, I don't know, he won't have a lot of time with the players, but I think the young boy McCoist did enough to, if we are struggling up there, Ox, that you could maybe start him.
Listen, in present form, and no offence to one of our own players, Dessers, I'd rather have you up front than Dessers Linda.
I was a goal scorer in my time. A different sport.
Did they have a stick?
Yes. Aye, but no, I think
you're lucky Big Stevie's left. He might ask you about the strap and the top and everything, yeah?
Oh no, that's a different conversation. No, you're right, Ox. I think there's a couple of players we certainly don't want to see on Saturday, and it's probably better even for their own benefit that they're not in that starting 11.
Aye, because it's sold out. People are looking for tickets, and I mean, Robert Werrell said, I think it was Robert Werrell said a few weeks ago that Michael B was going to empty Ibrox, and he was proven right. And lo and behold, bang, good fuel. The feel good factor's back, Linda. Anyway,
Yeah.
teeth opener.
Yeah, definitely. And as Bridge was saying, we're all he's looking forward to going, and we all are. And I wasn't feeling like that a few weeks ago, but as you said, we simply had to change the manager. It was starting to affect everything off the park too, and the cup match wasn't a sellout, and you're starting to wonder if it starts to affect other things, Ox. But come 3 o'clock on Saturday, we'll all be buzzing to get back to the football, I think.
Well, last word for your good self, Juicy.
Well, it's been a long time coming in terms of waiting for the game, but to be fair, Ox, there's been quite a lot going on, and I think we needed the break in a way, because we needed to get things together behind the scenes. They've done that now. He's had a week of training, and let's bring on the spoon burners.
Linda, last ones.
Yeah, really enjoyed the show tonight, Ox. I loved the interview, and it was fantastic hearing from Dave. And as I say, onwards and upwards for Rangers, and hopefully just get the victory on Saturday, please.
Here's one for you. Linda, before we go. Here's for Fox. It's incredible to consider it. At stroke of midnight tonight, Morelos and Caixinha are going head to head in the Brazilian League. Caixinha is going for the title, and Morelos is trying to avoid relegation.
Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? Wow. God.
Right. Mr. Bridges maybe popped out, he's left us, but to go in a friend for all the Rangers fans all over the world, particularly here, please keep it going for the Rangers, because the Rangers need them. Thanks to Linda, thanks to Juicy, thanks to Bridge, thanks to Bob Chair and Big Stevie for popping in, Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals, but a big thanks to one of our own, Davey McKinnon, one of our ex-players who joined us tonight. Absolute pleasure, top man, top player, top player. Take it away, Old School Blue.